morning, everyone. My name is Gordon Baranco, and I'm a member of the Glide family. Many of you expected to see Cecil Williams this morning. Cecil left about an hour ago to take a plane to Chicago. Janice Mirikatani, who is the president of the Glide Corporation, is receiving the American Book Lifetime Achievement Award in Chicago. And Cecil is there too. He said really to see the bulls. That is true. He said that this morning. But at any rate, welcome to Glide. We, of course, at Glide celebrate life no matter who is here, and we intend to do that fully this morning. Is Maggie close by? Ah, there you are. Maggie Barents is going to lead us now in the reading.
Thank you. Would you please join hands with your brothers and sisters? Would you join me in the reading that is on the wall? There is no moment like this moment. There is no time like this time. There is no people like this people. There is no place like this place. This is my place, our place. We are living in a special experience. It's affirmation time. I can affirm myself. I can affirm you. I can affirm life. I can live love without being scared. I can live love without feeling threatened. I can live love without pretending. I can live love without being bitter. I don't have to destroy myself, and I don't have to destroy you. I can go on with my life. It's about time. It's about time. It is the moment. It is the place. Thank God it is the experience. I'm free. I'm free. I'm free. Let us rejoice together saying amen. Hallelujah. Right on. Shalom. Salam. Amen. I'd like to introduce to you Reedy Williams, who is Cecil's brother, and he will lead us in song.
Oh Now turn around and embrace each other. Embrace your brothers and sisters. Thank you, thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. You may be seated, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And we also want to say happy Father's Day to all the mothers who are fathers. And happy Father's Day to the grandfathers and those of us who don't admit that we fathers. May I introduce to you now, ladies and gentlemen, the Glide Ensemble.
Never quit.
John Turk, ladies and gentlemen, John Turk. And the young lady that came out here and scorched the floor was Angie. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Carol Huggins down here. Carol has been sick, but she's making a comeback. Awfully tough sister, awfully tough sister. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have another part of our Father's Day celebration, and this is a very special event. And we want to ask you to be sure that you give these kids the kind of response that they deserve. Because these are our kids, these are Glide kids. And this is just a part of us. And we want them to know how special they are. So, ladies and gentlemen, while they're coming on stage here, all right, we got them all on yet? Oh, no, here they are. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new director of the children's choir here. And this young man here also helps me take care of Cecil, as well as some other things. This is Carl. And this is Charlotte's grandson and Carla's son. So I don't know what Carl's going to do, if he's going to direct the takeoff, but whatever it is, we're going to hang with him. Ladies and gentlemen, the Glide's Children's Choir.
The children's choir would like to thank every mothers that are single with no husband and every father a happy Father's Day.
Gave me a song.
Gave me a song
That the angels, they cannot sing. I've been washed in the blood of the crucified one. I've been redeemed. The Lord has been. He opened doors. Sometimes when I no one to call, my Father is rich in houses and land. He holds the power of the world in his hand. Oh, he's got the power. He's got the He's got the power. 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 Oh, power. God gave me a song.
The Glide Children's Choir. The Glide's Children's Choir. Let's have a round of applause for them. Come on. Thank you. AAA is looking for you. Black Mazda, AAA is looking for you. So if you got a black Mazda, go out there and see the AAA man. Undoubtedly, you'd lock your keys in your car or something. I think the choir, the kids were great, don't you? Again, we want to remind everybody that we are serving lunch for the fathers from 12 until 1:30, and all of the mothers are invited to go, the grandfathers, everybody's invited to go downstairs and eat. So we got fried chicken and all the trimmings. So let's go down and see what they have done to us. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, may I present to you Maggie.
Good morning. I'm going to talk to you about the offering and about the programs here at Glide, but you just saw one of the best programs happening here at Glide with the children's choir. They were so good. That's where some of your money goes. So, speaking of which, I'd like to ask you to prepare your gifts and your pledges and take out your checkbooks, make lots of zeros, folding money. And for those of you who don't know, while you're getting your money ready, where some of that money goes is to the food program at Glide. And if you don't know, Glide serves meals 3 times a day, 365 days a year, over 1 million meals a year. And in addition, there are 35 comprehensive programs that meet the needs of the poor. So at this time, I'd like the ushers to begin taking the offering. Now, sometimes when we give our money away, it's a big deal, and we wonder where our money's going, and we have a right to know that. But I want you to know that here at Glide, every penny that is collected, everything that you give to Glide goes directly to the programs. It doesn't go to salaries, it doesn't go to the light bill. There's an endowment for that. So here at Glide, it's a special thing that when you give your money, it's going to help people directly. And let me tell you some of the work that's going on here at Glide. There are over 60,000 clients per year that come through the doors at Glide, adults, youth, and children. And many of them come to us the first time through the food line for meals, or through the crisis center where they receive free emergency services and then get into programs like recovery and HIV testing. 1,300 people were given computer training, and 70% of those people went on to further training and jobs. And one thing we've seen among our youth through our youth program is that grades have improved markedly, with a 45% decrease in truancy. And last year, we were able to give, because of your help, 12 scholarships to high school graduates. But one of the most gratifying things is to see how the Glide children and youth programs have changed, empowered, and vitalized the lives of our children. And you saw that this morning in the children's choir. So I want to thank you. I want to thank each one of you for your love, your commitment, and your financial support to these programs. Your generosity changes lives. It truly does. And that is the greatest gift of all. Now I'd like to introduce Charlotte Kwan, who will give the announcements this morning.
This is my choir. They call me the mother of the choir, so mother's acting up today. I also have the job as chairman of the membership committee. You know, we can't choose our mother, our father, our brothers and sisters, but we can choose to become a part of this motley group here that we have, the Glide family. We've got all kinds, let me tell you.
All right.
And you're all welcome. Those of you who have not made the commitment, we're getting people that have been coming for 6 and 7 years, and they haven't, wanted to say, I'm going to be a part of the family. Well, today, we want you to say, today's the day on Father's Day, I'm going to commit to be part of the family. You may come outside the door there, go in the first room, and there'll be people there to greet you and bring you into this family. The relationships group will present a talk next Friday, June 21st from 6 until 8, and the title is, It Shouldn't Hurt to Love Someone. You don't have to be a part of the relationship group. Anyone can come. Singles, couples, heterosexuals, gays, lesbians, everyone is welcome to this talk on It Shouldn't Hurt to Love Someone. We have tapes and CDs of the Glide Ensemble. We have videos of today's celebration because I know many of you that are visiting from out of town, particularly our international visitors, when you go back to tell people about it, you won't be able to explain it, but you can get a video.
That's right, Star.
And you say, I live in Australia and we have a different currency. Well, for a few dollars more, we can convert it to the Australian currency. So any of you international people may be able to take that. We have a wonderful new seniors program here, and on Wednesday, June 19th, the Senior Survival School will be holding its third session from 1 until 4 p.m. in room 206, and Miss Johnny Cavanaugh wants all of you to come to the senior program. Glide Ensemble? You have a song to sing.
Thank you, sir. We love the show.
As you know, Cecil isn't here today, but we have a wonderful speaker in the person of Judge Gordon Baranco. Gordon doesn't really like people to know he's a judge. He slips in his shorts and his little tennies and other things like that. He has many jobs that he does, but one of the jobs that he likes and that is most important to him is being a father. And Brandon slipped away and went to the children's program, but we have a little young lady here. Stand up. Miss Lauren. And Lauren is one of our she's one of our hardest working volunteers. At all of the holiday times at 5:30 in the morning, Lauren is here with her father. The last couple years she's brought youngsters from her school and everything, and Gordon is very, very proud of that. And I want to introduce Gordon's best friend, Barbara G. And Gordon said, "That's all I can say. He's ready."
The choirs are waiting for some signals here. You through? Yeah. Thanks for you. I need the mic's right. Dave says it's cool.
Okay.
Dave says it's on. Is it on? Well, thank you very much, Charlotte. You know how honest kids are with us. We just posed a question to Brandon. Brandon, would you like to go to the kids' room or hear Daddy speak? He immediately said, I want to go to the kids' room. A couple of weeks ago, Cecil called me, and I'm getting to know Cecil very well from the tone of his voice. I know now the difference between his tone when he's going to ask me to talk about the collection or make announcements, which I'm willing to do, or when he says, we need a speaker for one of the celebrations. I told him when he called a couple of weeks ago, I said, Cecil, I spoke at the celebrations in September. He said, well, talk about what you do. I said, I talked about that, and I only have one speech. And we normally recycle this speech about every 5 years, so now the pressure is on. But actually, what made it very simple today is Father's Day. So there are a number of things that I want to talk about. I am going to talk about some of the things that I do. I'm going to talk mainly about my favorite role I have discovered as being a father to both Lauren and Brandon. When I was raised in Oakland, and my parents, we used to celebrate every holiday, Christmas, Easter, birthdays. Admission Day, I think we used to celebrate, just as an excuse to celebrate something. But when it came down to Mother's and Father's Day, our parents, we'd run in the bedroom, say, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Father's Day, and the first words out of their mouths were, well, every day is Father's Day, and every day is Mother's Day. Now, when I was younger, I didn't really understand that. When I got a little older, I thought, well, yeah, every day is Mother's Day and Father's Day because we're such wonderful children, and it just must be a joy for you to be with us every day. Then I became a father, and I realized what they meant. And what they meant is being a mother and or being a father is a full-time job. It's a 24-hour-a-day job. It's one of those jobs that's rewarding when you see your children graduate from high school or college or elementary school. It's one of those jobs that's frustrating when you're on your way to work to get to work for 8:30 and your son says, I want ice cream for breakfast, I want to watch the Disney Channel, and I don't want to get dressed. It's very demanding because I know all of you have experienced this when you think you have your 5 minutes of time to take a rest at about 6:30. Someone comes in and says, I need attention. Or why is it that our children always want to have a conversation with us when we are talking on the phone? It's also very time-consuming. Barbara and I were laughing. We look at our calendar for the month of May. There was one Saturday in May when I remember going to ice skating lessons, Girl Scout soccer, and softball. I was looking forward to Monday to getting back to work. And it's also those fun times. Phyllis and I always talk about how having children is an excuse for us to go to Disneyland on a regular basis. But I think what is clearest about being a parent for all of us is that it is truly a learning experience. It's an experience where we feel adequate at times and totally inadequate at times. And it is not a perfect science. So what I want to talk to you a little bit about today is about being a father. But I want to talk to all parents because I don't want you to leave here saying, well, Gordon just talked about fathers. And there are some families that have a father. There are some families that have a mother. There's some families that have both. There's some that have two mommies. There's some that have two daddies. We have aunts and grandparents and guardians, all of us involved in parenting. But there are times during the course of my sharing information with you that I'm going to talk a little bit about fathering and direct some of my comments directly to men. It seems to me we end up having three primary responsibilities as parents. One is, as the old people used to say, to set an example. We call it in the 90s role modeling, but we have to set an example for our children. Secondly, and this sometimes is very difficult for many of us, we have to be, when we are parents, respectful of and communicate with the other parent. That means even when we live with that parent or when we don't live with that parent. Now, I see a couple of people squirming right now. And the third thing that strikes me is that we truly have to love our children by teaching them and by listening to them. By teaching them and by listening to them. Hillary Clinton now has made very popular the African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. And that, of course, that's very true. There are others. I was reading a communication from the Black Community Crusade for Children, a woman named Enola Aird, who says this: "We too often fail to realize that these are our children. They are entrusted to all of us, and everybody bears some responsibility for seeing that they live healthy, productive lives." And there is a publication by the Children's Defense Fund with a picture of a child on the cover, and the caption reads, "Live your life as if someone's watching you, because someone is." We don't have to be perfect to be examples or role models for our children. We don't have to be their heroes or their sheroes, as Maya Angelou says. We don't have to be famous. We don't have to be important. But we have to understand that whatever example we set, they follow what we do and not what we say. How many times have you heard your children say some things and you say, "Where did they hear that?" And then you say, "Wait, I've heard that before because I think it came out of my mouth." I heard Brandon say on a regular basis, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself." I thought, well, where did he get that? I think I know the source. Now, there are some other things he says that I can honestly say I didn't say, but there are times when I hear that. And I hope in 1996 we don't have to talk about this, but some people still live with stereotypical household duties and chores. I hope as fathers that we understand that there is nothing genetic, there is nothing about sexual orientation that has anything to do with washing dishes and washing clothes. Apparently that needed to be said. We also tell our children how important education is to us, and when they don't see us read, or when we don't read to them, or when we say, "Oh, I can't do that, I don't want to be bothered with it, oh, that's math, that's science, I was never good at that," what kind of message do we send to them? We have to set an example. We have to read to them and read along with them. And one of the things that I have discovered more and more is that we have to also, when we preach equality and when we preach diversity and we preach respecting others, we have to make sure that our friends are people who are of different cultures and of different races, and of different sexual orientations, and that we don't use stereotypical language and derogatory language in describing them. Do we ever slip into that? Do we ever slip into that? But I think most important is what occurred in Washington, D.C., a couple of weeks ago, is that we have to stand up for our children. And we do that in a number of ways. I have discovered that whenever I get approached with a petition to sign something, you know, we have so many initiatives on our ballots now, none of us can remain informed. But I find out that the first question I ask is, what is this going to do for our children? Tell me what this is going to do for our children. And we have to make sure, and I don't believe that we have, that everything we do as adults is centered around our children. We have to support education. We have to support teaching our children. We have to do a lot of things that affirm our children and help create self-esteem in them. Now, the second topic that kind of makes people uneasy is we have to respect and communicate civilly with the other parent or the teacher or the significant other. When I first was placed in Superior Court, I call it sentencing. I was sentenced to what we euphemistically call family law court. Now, family law court means divorce court. But we like to call it family law court because we think that chills people out. Trust me, it doesn't. One of the things, and this is not to find fault with anyone, but this is Father's Day, so I want to talk to men. I can't tell you how many times when we would have cases on child support, you know, we always have money to party on Friday and Saturday night, but when it comes down to that monthly payment, whoops, I don't have enough money. But I would always hear the following statement, well, I don't like the way she's raising my child. And my initial response was always, you own your house, you own your car, you own your pots and pans, you don't own your child. Children are not property. But the second thing that I think is very important is that you both brought this child into the world, and you have a responsibility to this child to communicate respectfully with one another in the best interests of that child. And that's difficult at times, isn't it? That's very, very difficult. But you owe it to the child, and if you focus on the child, it's going to make things much easier. We, in the law, we have, unfortunately, one of the courts that has grown so much in California is our domestic violence courts, where people are actually physically very violent with one another. And one of the terms that we have used is thingifying. Thingifying. Thingafying. You won't find that in Webster's. But thingifying is when an adult refers to another adult as something other than a human being. He or she thingifies that person. Now, I can give you some specific examples. You know, men, we hopefully are getting out of this habit of using the B word, the word that rhymes with which. You understand what I'm talking about? That's thingifying. That's thingifying. We need to be as respectful as possible and to communicate with the other adult involved in raising the child. There is a program apparently that's going to be on TV tonight. I happened to read an article about a week ago in the newspaper. And while I don't really like the title of the subject area, it really speaks to men who are fathers atoning for some of the things that they may not have done. And it's an organization called Bad Dads. And I don't like the negative connotation, but there are a group of men who are incarcerated in Pennsylvania who are fathers of children and have admitted that they have been less than attentive to their children. And those dads are teamed up with children of other parents who have been abused and neglected. And everyone sits down and talks about what they are thinking and what they are feeling. And what has occurred is bonding has taken place between the bad dads and the children who have led less than conventional lives. Those are the kinds of things that we as men need to think about in terms of being a father. And while there is no perfect father and there is no perfect criteria, we certainly need to think about what fathering should entail. The last thing I want to talk about is how we need to love our children by teaching them and listening to them. We have to care enough about our children to set limits, and boy, is that difficult. I remember my father saying to me one time, and I didn't quite get it then. I was one of those times when, of course, we as teenagers, are smarter than everybody else in the world. And I'm sure I had something to say that I thought was very provocative. And he explained to me in these terms, he said, your mother has her friends, and I have my friends, and you have your friends. And I am not your friend. I am your father. And I thought, well, that's cold. Woo! You mean I can't talk to you? Oh, yeah, you can talk with me. That's no problem. But you remember that I am your father, and you are my son. And maybe one day we will become friends. But up to this point, you have to understand what the limits are. And, are those limits very difficult? We talk about the fine line between discipline and abuse, nurturing and spoiling our children, the fine line between guidance and control, teaching and nagging. Oof! How many of you get those looks from the pre-teenagers like, oh boy, are you for real? See, Lauren, other people experience this. They're not just Dad. But I think that what we have to understand is that we owe it to our children to teach them what is important, to teach them how to act. And believe it or not, there's something in the Bible that talks about that. And it's from Proverbs, the 22nd chapter, the 6th verse. Train up a child in the way he or she should go, and when he or she is old, he or she will not depart from it. Very simple, very straightforward, and very much to the point. We have to teach our children manners. Please, thank you, I'm sorry, you're welcome. I think I've drilled that into Brandon so much he doesn't know which one to say at what time. Just lets them all out. The other day I was reading the Bernstein Bears on manners, and I realized it's not the Bernstein Bears' job to teach manners, it's my job. Self-discipline and discipline. Oh, how difficult that is. We always want to be liked. I want to be my child's friend, but that isn't always going to happen. And sometimes we just have to impose the kind of discipline out of love that we need to impose. We need to stop the violence. I wish I was making this up and that I was telling you war stories all day, but I just finished a jury trial where a person was convicted of murder, where there was a birthday party in Berkeley, California, for a person in her early 20s, where she invited her friends and they were eating and dancing, and 3 people brought guns to the party. Now, I've never seen an invitation that said, I've seen invitations that say no gifts, please. I've never seen one that says no guns, please, because we assume that we don't have to say that. Well, 3 people brought guns to the party, and someone other than one of the 3 people with the guns ended up being killed. And she was 21 years old. The violence in our society is alarming, and we have to speak out and act out against it over and over and over again. Statistics show that now the leading cause of death among young people is by guns, by violence. And that's very sad, and we cannot ignore that. We cannot ignore it. And I think we also have to, most important, listen to our children. It's not a challenge to our authority when our children want to express an opinion, when they want to talk to us about what they're thinking. They don't need us to condemn. They don't need us to pass judgment. They just need us to listen and to respect them. it's become very easy for people to talk about young people as the lost generation. And think how that would make you feel if an adult said that to you, especially when you assume you're not lost. And there's some precedent for this because, I'd say about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there was a person named Martin Luther King Jr., and the following quote is attributed to him. "The youths of our nation have become involved in civil rights beyond all other groups of the population because with their lives yet to live, they earnestly want life to have meaning. They know they are touching the immortal when they involve themselves with the wronged and the maltreated. Young people are not the lost generation. Adults are the lost generation." Because the adults have failed to create the democratic society youth was promised as its heritage. If we fulfill our promises, if we set an example, if we communicate and respect one another, and if we teach and listen to our children, every day is Father's Day. Thank you.
I think he's due a tremendous amount of applause. Judge Gordon Baranco. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are feeding downstairs. Those of you who would like to